saddest night in Dundee United's history. Defeated in the final of the UEFA Cup final by Gothenburg, a dream which ended in tears. A cruel epitaph for them. For the players who realised it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, defeat was too much to bear. For manager Jim McLean, he had somehow to lift the club off the floor. So that derby win yesterday was very badly needed. Even so, a look at the league table tells its own story. United haven't been firing on full cylinders all season. Jim McLean's side are a massive 16 points behind leaders Celtic and out of the championship race. And despite that win at Dens Park, they're still 5 points behind Dundee. Their record of 12 successive seasons in Europe is very much at risk. The massive disappointment of losing 2 cup finals in 4 days at the end of last season must be one factor in their decline. Maybe 2. Some of their players are much nearer to the end of their careers than the start, and that hasn't helped either. And McLean has had to fight against a crippling injury list. Too many important players have missed too many matches. Striker Paul Sturrock has started less than 1/3 of United's games. Eamon Bannon has trotted out for less than half of them, and Ian Redford's had the same bad luck. It's enough to take the smile off anyone's face, let alone Jim McLean. One win doesn't make a season, but Jock Brown wondered after the match if that derby victory meant that there was some light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, it's just exactly as we've been talking all the time. People have been accusing us of making too much of the injuries, but we've honestly been left with nothing, absolutely nothing. We've lost Goff, we've lost Dodds, and we've lost a lot of players before, so we were left with maybe half a team, but we couldn't even get that half on the part this season with injuries, and recently we've had Sturrock, Redford and Bannon out for extended periods, and if we get the players that are at Tannadice on the park, fully fit, playing together, then we'll be not too bad. But make no mistake, we can't camouflage the fact that we definitely still need to replace some way along the way the likes of what we've lost from Richard Goff leaving and people like Davy Dodds. That is extremely difficult because anybody that's got quality players don't want to sell them.
Nevertheless, overall, worthy of a smile tonight?
Oh yes, make no mistake, I was under a lot of pressure myself, but really pleased for the supporters. They've been magnificent this year and we've cheated them all season. Today I think the players gave them what they deserved. The most important thing was getting a result, but the performance was to me a double bonus because make no mistake, the players definitely needed a lift. But equally the supporters needed a lift too, and beating Dundee obviously was very important to us, but the way we played made it even nicer. For a change today we had an awful lot of good players, but I think that we should single out Eamon because he's definitely had a hard time since he came back from Mexico actually, but the spell he's had off recently has, with injury, has definitely freshened him up, and I thought he was outstanding, and his goal to me was absolutely magnificent.
Kevin Gallagher looking for the long cross. Canelli leaves it to Bannon, a delightful chip shot! It's a glorious goal from Eamon Bannon.
Yes, a great goal by Eamon Bannon and a good day for Jim McLean and Dundee United. Well, one player who's had the pleasure of experiencing a Tayside derby from both sides is United's Ian Redford, who was at Dens Park, of course, before moving to Ibrox, then back across the road. Ian was back yesterday after being out of action for the last 3 months because of an injury, but he has not been idle. Indeed, as Hazel Irvine found out, he has found a whole new interest which has nothing to do with football at all.
Uncommon to find professional footballers in business off the park, but you'd have to look hard to find many tackling the tourist industry. But that's what Dundee United's Ian Redford is doing. This is his Motor Heritage Centre, which opens in March at Bank Foot on the Perth Inverness Road. So how did the idea first come about?
Well, I think it was an idea that I got a couple of years ago when I came back up from playing with Rangers, and Perthshire being a good area for tourism, particularly in the sort of vintage and classic car trade. I felt there was a market for it in this area, so I just decided to develop the thing, and it just sort of developed from there. And with grant assistance from the Scottish Tourist Board and the Scottish Development Agency, they helped us a lot along the way, and now you see it. Obviously with the restaurant as well and the craft sales area, we depend on tourists coming through the door really for revenue. So we hope to make it a major tourist attraction in Perthshire within the next 2 or 3 years.
What about some of the cars themselves? Now, the one behind us, that's a Roche Talbot. Is there any history behind that particular one?
Yes, well actually this is quite interesting because in 1936 this car was actually bought straight off the stand at the London Motor Show, and it was actually bought as a wedding present from groom to bride, and it actually stayed in the same family until the early 70s. We've got an early 20s Model T Ford, which is quite an unusual piece. We have an Alice Chalmers tractor just to add a little bit of variation into things. We've got an E-Type Jaguar. Actually, I think the most interesting Jaguar we've got is the XK120, which was actually an original. It raced in 1953 at Le Mans, and it's a superb feature, really.
And there's even shades of James Bond.
We've got the Aston Martin DB6, which wasn't the original car which appeared in the James Bond film. It was actually the DB5, which is the earlier model. But it's very similar lines and looks more or less the same.
Well, from sports cars to sportsmen and Ian Redford himself, Redford has split his football career evenly between the East and the West. He's been with United for the last 3 years, having played for Rangers for 6, but he started out with Dundee FC in 1976.
It was actually Davy White that signed me on S for him when I was 13, and I was called up professionally by Tommy Gemmell, who was then the manager, when I was 16. And I spent about 3.5 years at Dundee before I was transferred to Rangers.
Clark playing it through, Redford is onside, a great chance for Rangers for the second. And a perfect finish from Ian Redford.
Obviously you played in old firm derbies. How would you say they compare with Dundee United local derbies then?
Well, I would have to say that I think that probably the passion on the field is probably much the same. I would say the atmosphere in the Terracins is completely different. I don't think there's anything that could compare to an old firm game. I think even probably the players that have come up from England that played in big local derbies down in England would probably go along with that. And
lastly, Ian, some highlights from your career, anything that really stands out in your own memory?
Yeah, I think from a Dundee United point of view, it has to be last season, the Barcelona game and the Borussia Mönchengladbach game. I think that the cup final itself, the European Cup final itself, was possibly a bit of an anticlimax due to the lack of atmosphere and the state of the pitch in Sweden as compared to Barcelona and the Borussia game. So these are the memories that mainly stand out as far as Dundee United goes.
Callaghan, now Redford, a great chance for United second. There's Redford, yes! The night of glory is completed by Ian Redford. So at the end of this, or when maybe you retire from football one day, are you going to retire gracefully and become a racing driver like Paul Newman?
Well, it depends on how well this place does, I suppose. I don't know, early days for that, but I suppose I would like to own a car similar to the XK120 or possibly the E-Type Jaguar someday, but we'll take it one step at a time.